What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of review for Bleach: The Thousand Year Blood War. This is episode 9, I believe.
Yeah.
And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm Uh, so yeah, interesting on where, supposedly where the rest of the show is headed. Concerning like two specific characters, one being Kenpachi and the other one being Unohana.
Mhm.
Well, the beginning of the episode it reveals that Shunsui is immediately promoted to head captain of Gotei 13, seeing as
Well, I
Yamamoto's already.
yeah, like I was really wondering about this too because I I wasn't sure how I felt about that because like I think they do establish that Shinsui and Yamamoto had known each other for a long time, and I guess that Yamamoto maybe saw him almost like in a way like a son, I guess. And I'm not sure if it was because of that. Um, because like I mean I don't mind Shinsui, but I feel like there are it just feels like there are other captains or that are way more qualified for that position than Shinsui. But I mean I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of I'm forgetting about Shinsui that maybe qualifies him more as to be the next head captain. Um, but yeah, it seems really weird because the only thing I can figure the reason why they did that was because of his, I guess, because of his connection with Yamamoto.
Yeah, I mean, I would have imagined Unohana being a good candidate to be the head captain, considering that she was one of the original founding members of Gotei 13.
Yeah,
But but with this episode, like it's revealed that she's being used for a different purpose. Um, is that Shunsui wants Kenpachi Zaraki to, I guess, ascend to another level because, as we known for Kenpachi, we don't really know the name of his Shikai, nor do we know that he really even has a Bankai either. I mean, we just mainly just see him
yeah,
as like this crazed berserker character that just runs around and just fights anyone he sees in front of him.
yeah. I think we learn in Soul Society arc like he doesn't really, uh, like because he's basically like using or he doesn't really have a proper Bankai or something, and he's just like his Zanpakuto doesn't have a name. And I don't know, like, if during the course of the anime, like, I'm not sure if I remember if Kenpachi ever really learned the name of his Zanpakuto, but like when he's defeated by Ichigo in Soul Society arc, he was like asking, if, like what the name of his Zanpakuto is. So I don't remember if he ever really finds out.
No,
But
he never found
yeah,
out. Even up to this point, he still doesn't know. Um, but yeah, but what's also interesting that alongside Shunsui being immediately promoted to head captain, he's requesting that he has two lieutenants instead of just one.
yeah,
I mean, first being obviously he wants his current, his lieutenant from his previous squad, and now to be um, transferred to be lieutenant in squad one. But that would mean like she would be added as a second lieutenant alongside a second person, which I don't know who would be the other lieutenant in squad one, considering like I think seeing as like the previous two lieutenants were both killed during the Quincy attack.
yeah. Maybe he's considering Kenpachi. Maybe that's why he's wanting Kenpachi to get stronger.
Could be a different reason, but yeah,
Yeah,
he's. But of course, I mean, with Shunsui I guess, tries to convince like the what was it, the council, to at least consider like having Kenpachi like ascend to a different level, which they eventually reluctantly agree when they realize that if they get attacked by Quincy's again, that they're gonna get slaughtered big time.
hmm,
So yeah, so that's when that's when Shinsui brings in Unohana, who he reveals her actual real name is Yachiru Unohana.
yeah. Well, and we
Um,
knew from the flashbacks too that she was one of the original members of the Gotei 13, and also, in this episode that we learned she was the former Kenpachi.
mhm. But yeah. However, the episode does the episode does transition us back to Ichigo at the what was it in the Soul? King
the Kirin
Fatale.
Din is what they were calling it, but it's the I guess technically it's like healing, like those healing baths or springs. That it basically picks up where the last episode we left off, where Ichigo was healing in one of those baths. And we find out that Renji's there too.
Yeah. Well, both Renji and Ichigo managed to fully recover from their injuries. So they're immediately taken to fuck, I forgot her
Kiryu?
name. Yeah, Kirio. Like but first off, we also find out when Ichigo and Renji get launched into the air. I don't understand like their transportation methods of like launching people and then just having them land in someplace without injuring themselves. But
I guess they figured they'll be okay. I don't know, but
yeah. And then what's also just interesting is like Kon can actually transform himself into a much bigger, I guess, is much more like macho version of himself.
Yeah, Buff Cone.
I
we were gonna see this
I don't know
apparently
if
in the last episode, but I guess it got cut. And then they put it in this one.
Yeah. But yeah, so Ichigo and Renji and Kon go to meet with Kiryu Hikifune, which I almost forgot that she was the former captain of Squad 11. No, was it 11 or was it 12?
I forget exactly.
I think it was 12. Yeah, I think it was 12. But before like Urahara succeeded her before he got succeeded shortly after that. But she pretty much treats them to a large meal, and of course they end up eating soon afterwards, which kind of gets us back into like Ichigo and Renji's comedic nature, butting heads with each other every time. It's like this, since this is the first time we get to see them together, like ever since the season started. And then much to their comedic shock, they see Kiryu somehow, I guess, somehow like became thinner in a short amount of time. I guess
she looks like a completely different person. And like we learned the reason for this is because like she puts all her spiritual pressure into cooking. And I guess when she's not doing it, her spiritual pressure, like when all of her spiritual pressure, I guess, is released, that she turns back into that form. And it was it makes sense now, because if you remember the last episode, when Shinji saw Kiryu, he didn't recognize her, and I guess they knew each other before, and Shinji was kind of surprised because he didn't, like, I guess he thought, I guess that's how she originally looked like when he last saw her, and not how she did when she came back.
Yeah, and I think she explains to both Ichigo and Renji that I think I don't know what she did. She put something in the food that at least improved their spiritual pressure to a certain extent.
Didn't she also, like, isn't it kind of revealed that she had something to do with the creation of mod souls?
Yes, that's what she mentioned.
Yeah.
I think there was a different term for it, but I keep forgetting.
Yeah, it was something else, but it's basically the mod soul, like, what Cone is.
Yes. So eventually that's where they leave us off. I guess they're
the next stop. They were next going to be sent to I forget what his name is, but he was the one who, I guess, created Zanpakuto's. So this might have something to do with Ichigo getting a new Zanpakuto to replace Zangetsu. Yeah.
However, there's still the factor about Ichigo being unable to repair his Bankai in his current state, and he would need to do something in particular. Whatever that is, we still don't know. But yeah, so eventually we transition back to the Soul Society, in which Kenpachi eventually confronts Unohana in like this dungeon type area where they can
the Mukin.
The Mukin, in which they can
actually, when they transitioned to the Mukin, or the Mukin, I thought that they were actually going to show Aizen again, because as we know, he is locked up I think in the Mukin. but I guess he must be in a different area or something. But yeah, this is basically where they were going to, I guess, where they were authorized to fight each other.
Yeah, and of course we see Unohana for the first time with her hair down. Um, Pretty much how she originally looked when when she was one of the original captains in the original Gotei 13 at the time.
Mm.
And we really see how, you know, how would I say this? She's a lot more like cold and calculating the way she looks now compared to how we saw her originally.
Yeah, it's really interesting for people who are anime onlys to see this because she's pretty much a completely different character from what we're used to. Manga readers, of course, aren't going to be surprised because they knew this, of course. But, well, I guess, anime onlys too kind of got a glimpse of this beforehand, but it's still kind of interesting to see her character kind of, being a completely different character than what we're used to.
Yeah, and of course, once they start fighting each other, Kenpachi's, of course, his usual self, just pretty much going in, just pretty much charging in at her, while she just basically just counters his every move, whatever he does. And also at the same time, we also see Yachiru and Isane, pretty much. Well, I mean, Isane, of course, gets originally gets a letter from Unohana. I guess she knows for a fact that what is currently happening, and Yachiru also gets Kenpachi's eye patch in the barracks. So they pretty much know the whole situation of what's going on, and of course,
because it's explained that in order for, I guess, Kenpachi to ascend to the next level, he needs, like, one of them needs to die.
Yeah, I mean, that would mean he would need to kill Unohana.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting that both Kenpachi and Unohana both have a long history together. Even when Kenpachi was a kid at the time, that he mentions that he once idolized her. I think, well, maybe he still does idolize her to the point where we actually see a tear coming out from his eye for the first time.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to get more of that in the next episode. But most of this fight, like, yeah, Unohana was pretty much getting the upper hand against Kenpachi. And then there was one point where it was, I don't know what happened. Like, Kenpachi basically, like, got stabbed in the throat, but I guess he was hallucinating it because that didn't actually happen. But he also got, like, cut on his shoulder too. I think that might have happened, but he got, like, stabbed through his throat. But I guess he, like, hallucinated his death or something because that never happened, I guess, because he just, it's almost like she used Aizen's Kyokusoi or something. Like, I don't know what happened there, but, yeah, I guess that never really happened, but,
My guess is that she might have something similar to that extent, because if I remember, I think one of the earlier arcs, Unohana confronted Aizen before, and I guess in a way she might have resisted it to some extent, but I'm not really sure how. But
yeah,
I think it's possible that she might have something similar to Aizen's ability, in which she can create hallucinations.
It's possible. We've also had some foreshadowing about, like, the true nature of her character at some points in the original anime. Like, I've completely forgot this scene, but there was a scene where she went to Wakamundo, and there was, like, these two Iran cars who were about to fight her and Hisane, but they completely, like, backed down, I guess, after sensing her spiritual pressure and just leave. So yeah, but yeah, we kind of end off the episode of, on this, like, cliffhanger, like, when they're just kind of in the middle of their fight, and that's more or less where it ends. So it's kind of, I always hate when that happens, because we're really just left hanging until next week, and there's no, of course, post-credit scene. So
no, I mean, I'm afraid for Unohana, because at this point I really know what's
think even
happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody knows. Like, I mean, I don't think anybody's really expecting Kenpachi to die here. I think, is considering one of them has to die, is probably going to be Unohana. I mean, because I don't know. I just feel like it would make the most sense. Like, yeah, I can't see Kenpachi actually getting killed in this point in the story, especially since he still doesn't have his Bankai and he doesn't know the true name of his Zanpakuto. So there's still a lot for his character to do. So I can't see him dying here. With Unohana, it's like it would kind of make sense if her character died because it's like it feels like there's nothing more for her to do. I mean, it feels she has a long history, and it would be appropriate because it feels like her character is just there's nowhere else for her character really to go, except to kind of maybe teach Kenpachi this lesson that'll help him out. But yeah, I think that's most likely what's going to happen. She's probably going to die, and we're just going to get the history between the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just find it's kind of an unfortunate end for Unohana because I really felt like there could have been more. We could have learned about her, and maybe I don't know. She never went out to fight the Quincy's in the last battle.
In a way, it's also a bit like Yamamoto as well because there's a lot we did not know about him until like right before his death. So that might be similar with Unohana, where there's like a lot we just didn't really know about her until she ends up dying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still under the impression that that they will eventually make like an anime original story arc, which is canon, by the way, that'll feature the original Gotei 13. I mean, all the other fillers that we've seen in the original series have all been non-canon at this point. Same with the movies, because if you consider like everything that's happened in those fillers, don't really fit in.
I think the only movie that is somewhat considered canon is Memories of Nobody because of the I can't remember the name of the place, but the area that they go to in that movie like is partial canon because I think it is referenced in the manga. But I don't think the characters. I'm not sure if the character like Senna is ever really referenced at any other point. It's just the place that whatever the place was called, but the place that was featured in Memories of Nobody. But yeah, aside from that, none of it's really, as far as I know, it's not really canon.
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple other fillers in the original series would be considered canon because they try to blend it into the main timeline.
Well, they did. Yeah, the original anime also tried to make those characters from the Bound arc. They tried to kind of shoehorn them into the canon arcs, like the Arankar arc. So there was stuff like that, but that was mostly like the original anime production. The original production team just trying to make canon material or trying to make filler material like the canon in a way, which it technically it isn't, but. Because that was never in the manga. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good episode. It was mostly just another somewhat of an exposition-heavy episode, kind of like the previous one. But and of course we have the fight scene between the two Kenpachis, and I think that might be the majority of the next episode. So at least it won't be another exposition episode. But I feel like it's a good thing that we have these two episodes as a kind of a bit of a break, after everything that just happened in the beginning of the series.
We're only like 4 more episodes left of the I think of this current core, which I'm curious if we're gonna go on break or if we're
I think so.
Afterwards.
They might kind of I feel like maybe they'll do it kind of like what My Hero Academia does, where they just have it broken up into seasons and they just take a break. But I think that's probably what's going to happen. I don't really know where the first part of this is going to end, honestly. I mean, especially since I haven't read this part of the manga, but I do know some of what's coming though, and I'm wondering if there are some things because we still do have, like you said, like a few episodes left, so that they might have enough time to kind of fit some things in there that I think is going to happen next. But I guess we'll have to see.
I can go by, like of what they showed in the opening. For this core in particular.
Although there are some things they show in the opening that I'm not sure if it's really going to happen yet. I mean, there are some major spoilers there, but of course, anime onlys aren't really going to understand. But there is there is a couple things there that I'm like kind of wondering if that's actually going to happen at this point in the story. I think one of those things definitely, I'm pretty sure happens later on. One or two of those things that they show in the opening. So I guess we'll have to see. But I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, it was a decent episode. It's just like overall, I liked Unohana. As a character in this series, even though like she wasn't really utilized as much as I would have liked to. But I think overall, like she was portrayed as a great character, uh, you know, in the original series as well as this show, and I'm kind of glad they actually gave they actually give her more involvement in this season than they did in the original.
Yeah, she's mostly a background character in the original series, and she doesn't really have much involvement in most of the story arcs. I mean, unless you count the filler, but we don't count the filler. So, but yeah, but I guess all that all being said, guys, until next week, we will see you all next time.